The Breakfast Show tomorrow morning. Both Tamara and I will be here from 7 o'clock in the morning. Right now, though, I want to update you on what's happening in Afghanistan. Let's bring in Tom Dannett, founder and chief exec of Street Child. We've chatted a few times, haven't we, Tom? You particularly are concerned about what's happening in Afghanistan. Given that we've seen this earthquake, what do you think might be happening?
Yeah, thanks so much, Kat. Look, it's a shocking situation, of course. The only upside is that we're talking about Afghanistan again. There's quite rightly been enormous focus on Afghanistan, on Ukraine in the last 3 months, and Street Child's been highly active there, as many international charities. But the situation in Afghanistan as a whole has continued to get worse. And then we have this horrific incident with over 1,000 people losing their lives in a remote, impoverished borderland corner of the country. And Street Child, our charity, has got a deep history of working in this particular part of Afghanistan in Paktika. And our teams are on the ground at the moment, supporting the response. You can see the pictures at the moment, and working out in particular how do we protect children and how do we ensure that children's futures aren't lost in this kind of acute event. And always, we have to look at these events and think, actually, how do we get something positive out of this? And one of the small positives, like I said, is we are here talking about Afghanistan because we need to continue talking about Afghanistan because the situation in the country has just got worse and worse in the last year.
Yeah. Talk to me about that, Tom, if you would, please, as far as Street Child is concerned. Longer term, the humanitarian crisis that we've been hearing about this morning for people, particularly the children in Afghanistan, from your perspective. Enlighten us as far as Street Child is concerned.
Yeah, from Street Child's perspective, then we've seen deepening poverty throughout the year. And whenever there's globally, poverty is the largest barrier to education. And it's natural when families are worried about where their food is going to come from, then education becomes a second order issue. Street Child's perspective is that education is the single most important investment in aid that we can make. It's what builds children, it's what builds futures. And when we look at places like Afghanistan, that at the very bottom of any development sort of index you choose to look at, you think, how do we imagine a better future? It's going to be by investing in education, and education is in peril when there's poverty, when there's disaster, and education becomes sidelined in everyone's thinking in the face of acute situations. But we need to bring it to the fore right now. So our teams in Paktika today are talking about education and getting education in the conversation right now, because everyone else is focused on how do we save lives, how do we get people out of rubble. These are important things, but we need to start thinking about the future right now, or else it doesn't happen.
What do you say to world leaders and organisations who are concerned about bankrolling the Taliban if they offer aid?
I think this argument is wearing thin, and again, I really hope that this tragedy within a tragedy that we have now focuses minds on actually, is this becoming inhumane? Is it working? Because when I speak to our staff and contacts in Afghanistan, they are growing progressively. Exasperated is the wrong word. Sort of despair bordering on disgust at the attitude of the West towards the people of Afghanistan. It is complex. There is so much about the way that Taliban is operating the country that is divergent from our values. Of course it is. But ultimately, there are 35, 40 million Afghanis. They are real people the same way we are, with basic needs that need meeting. And if humanity means anything, those of us who have resources need to think about how do we share those resources with people in the world that have the least. And a large concentration of those are within Afghanistan. Hunger rates at nearly 95%. In Paktika, where this earthquake is, 85% of girls are out of school. What sort of future is there for that province? With just 15% of girls getting some education, 0 high school graduates in Paktika in the last, how many years, let's say 10, 15 years. the international meeting is long and hard about how does it really serve the Afghan people. And I think this policy is straining humanity, and we need to be creative. And perhaps the silver lining of this acute event is that people will think, okay, we've got to do something here. It's not working. At the same time, we need to fight for our values, and we have to be creative in our engagement with the Taliban.
Tom, we must leave it there, but we do appreciate you taking the time to join us from Switzerland today. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks a lot, Lucy.